Sometimes Judge Mathis snaps in court.
She had to go to an abuse
whooping
shelter.
her.
Let's get to this child support.
Yes,
How
sir.
about that?
Yes, sir.
If you could, let's see that.
Yes, sir.
Big
He
fella,
hasn't
what
seen
do
his
you
kids
owe?
in 9 years. He owes $17,954.69. He's never put forth in. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Brianna is a model in Las Vegas who paid her friend, JP, a lot of money for meal prep services and personal training sessions. She said he had not held up his end of the contract and refused to refund her money. JP says he has had a training business for many years and never has complaints except for Brianna.
I decided to do a fitness competition and I hired him as my preparation coach for a 16-week.
How often was he training you?
Prior to that, anywhere from 2 to 4 up to 5 days a week.
Okay, so it's about the same.
Oh, for the preparation program,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. For a preparation program, it's strict 5 days a week, no matter what, for training.
She says when she first moved to Las Vegas, she was working as a cocktail server. She then moved to modeling, but she needed to stay in shape for that, which is why she signed up for meal prep and training sessions. Brianna and JP became close friends and shared everything, but nothing sexual was going on.
Then I met Brianna through a friend. She was a masseuse, and then she would work with me for like over an hour. So that's when we got pretty close. We used to talk about our personal lives. So whenever she had a problem, she would come to me. Whenever I had a problem, I would go to her. Whenever she went out of town, I'd go and take care of her cats.
JP says he came from nothing in Brazil and has been diligently working on growing his business ever since. He says he has never had a client complain about his services until Brianna. He and Brianna were so close that he would even take care of her cats while she was out of town.
Well, first, let's get to terms of the deal. You didn't get to that. How much and how many sessions?
I used to charge her $50 before, but I gave her a discount for $40.
What she's suing you for today, how many sessions did you agree to?
50.
All right.
Yeah.
And that was to be how much per session?
$40 a session.
All right.
JP says they only agreed to 50 training sessions, whereas Brianna says they agreed on 80 training sessions. So, who's telling the truth? He says meal prep services aren't something he offers his usual clients. Brianna wouldn't have time to cook, so he offered to do it for her. But it was only a verbal agreement.
Everything was paid in full between 2 payments, $4,000 in cash, which I have on page 1 and 2, a proof of the
How
actual
much did
money.
you put down?
I put down $5,200 total. The other $1,200 was in a separate day, done in a separate day.
Okay.
So $5,200 total, Your Honor.
All right.
Brianna paid JP over $5,000 for the 80 training sessions, but realized he had only trained her on 3 of those days. He also backed out of their meal prep arrangement by making excuses, and she'd paid him for that too. So, what's Judge Mathis going to say?
I went through a breakup, and then I was gonna leave my home.
What are you talking about, a breakup? I don't see anything.
So
Your claim
busy.
is dismissed. Yours is granted. You lied. I'm reading it. You gave her 1,000 excuses as to why you're abandoning these sessions after she has paid you. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Erica and Trammell met when she was 15 and he was much older. She lied to him about her age and said she was 18. She says they had 2 children, but he hasn't paid child support for them in ages. Trammell says she fled the state with her kids, which gave her a lot of emotional distress because he didn't see his kids for years.
I was 15 years old. It was shortly after the murder of my father, so it was a very traumatic time in my life. I met Mr. Wright in a teen nightclub at that time. I lied to Mr. Wright and told him I was 18, which in fact I was only 15. At that point in time, Mr. Wright told me that it didn't matter because he was in love at that point in time.
Erica says she told him about her true age when they'd been dating for 4 months, but he said it didn't matter anymore as he was in love with her. She says they then had 2 kids, and she started receiving child support for them after undergoing DNA tests. She was also staying with his family members at the time.
During the course of the relationship, it was very toxic. There was fighting, arguing, stealing, a number of things, Your Honor. We officially split in 2005, towards the end of November. In 2006 is when we received the DNA for our second child, which of course he was the father.
Trammell starts his testimony by saying Erica has been deceptive from the very start. He says her lie about her age could have landed him with statutory rape charges and 40 years in jail. Judge Mathis is a little skeptical about that jail sentence. He says his grandma got custody of Erica because her home environment was very toxic.
She took my kids, and I haven't seen them for 9 years.
When was that?
She left in August of 2006. I called her for the weekend, like I usually do, to give visitations to see my kids and pick them up. Erica Hoyt did not return any call or text.
All right, is that your counterclaim for emotional distress? Is that what that's for?
Erica says she moved away because Trammell was physically abusive and slapped her multiple times. She says she left to give her kids a better life and because she had a nervous breakdown from all the trauma this relationship gave her. She took the kids around to his family home before leaving so he could see them, but he didn't show.
I had a nervous breakdown prior to me leaving and I had to go. Yes, sir, I left the whole home. I went to the Sojourner Truth House. I lost everything, Your Honor, and in order to save myself and to save my kids, I had to go.
And that's why you denied.
And Mr. Wright knew about that. I took my kids to see his family before I left and he didn't show up to see his kid.
Judge Mathis asks him if he was physically abusive towards her. He says they were both physically abusive. That's when Judge Mathis loses it. He says it doesn't matter what she did or where she went, but he should have paid the child support on time. So, who do you think Judge Mathis will rule in favor of?
At that time, because I wouldn't work with him, Mr. Wright stated to me 3 days before Mother's Day he wasn't gonna pay me anything.
All right,
he told
good
child
enough.
support he
I don't
wasn't
want to hear
working. Yes,
anymore.
sir. Okay.
And sir, I asked you earlier, was that part of your emotional distress? And you just looked at me. And I said, oh, I guess not. Your claim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Janine and Roderick have been good friends for a long time. A while back, Janine asked Roderick to fix her car and even made payments for car parts, but he failed to fix it. He then ghosted her. She wants her money back. She also says he was previously addicted to cocaine. Roderick is suing her for defamation.
What are you all talking about on Facebook? Was he hitting on you or?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No.
What were you all talking about?
I reached out to him to repair a vehicle.
Okay. You knew of him to repair vehicles already?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm always curious of how the social media interactions begin.
Janine says they became friends when she reached out to him on Facebook regarding some trouble with her car. They got to talking and soon got close because they were both going through rough patches. Roderick also told her about his cocaine addiction. Judge Mathis says no mechanic tells that stuff to their clients.
Y'all going together. Don't nobody tell anybody all that
That's a lie.
information.
Never.
Your mechanic. Do you tell your mechanic that?
Never. During that
That
time,
man ain't told you all that about himself.
She said,
And all you did is go and get you some brakes, and you got to hear a life story. That did not happen.
She says a while back she was diagnosed with bone cancer and had to be in the hospital. They grew distant at that time because she was dealing with her situation. She paid him to fix her car, but things started getting weird, with him being out late and not working on her car like he used to.
he's a very good mechanic. He was doing what he was supposed to do. But after some time, things started changing with him telling me that he go out and stay up all night long and then he sleep all day. And I told him up then that didn't seem right.
How many nights straight?
I can't even tell you. All I know is he kept on giving me the runaround about my car.
Janine says she went on vacation while Roderick was working on her car. He said it would be done when she comes back. To her surprise, the car is still completely scattered everywhere when she comes back. She gets angry at Roderick and starts calling him repeatedly, but he doesn't pick up and instead complains about her to her kids.
I keep blowing his phone up trying to reach out to him. He's telling me that the phone don't work, showing me a broke phone, and then he leaves the phone over there. He have my children. He's tired of me blowing his phone up because he has to work this and the third. He has my children yelling at me, making it seem like I'm aggravating the situation.
Roderick says he apologized for his behavior after a few days because he realized it wasn't right. However, Janine had called his ex-wife by that point. His ex-wife got angry at his behavior and even refused to let him see his kids. So, what is going to be Judge Mathis's ruling?
She went and reached out to my ex-wife and told her all kind of stuff that is basically venting.
You can't break up something like we broke up.
Got it. Your judgment is depart. I'll grant you $5,000 for her damage to your reputation among the most precious people to you, your children. Have a good day.
Amanda has a cleaning business that she opened after going through a horrific car accident that broke all the bones in her body. She says she hired Jason and his wife to work for her, and they asked for advances multiple times, but never worked them off. Jason says that's not true and is countersuing for harassment.
I was in rehab for physical therapy for a year. By doing a cleaning business, it actually got my body into shape.
How'd you think of that?
Well, where we live, there's summer rentals there, and I saw that that business was very profitable. So I decided in my head, like from doing physical therapy, that I would need more for the rest of my life.
Amanda says her cleaning business was going well until she hired the pair. She gave them cleaning work, but Jason couldn't even manage that. Instead of firing him, she gave him a maintenance job and asked his wife to clean. However, he caused a lot of damage in the jobs he was given, and Amanda had to pay those off.
Jason had told me stories to where I needed to look at him in a different way. He told me a story about him and his wife robbing something and him driving down the road and his wife falling out of the car. He has told me that he has fixed things that are broken that I'm still paying for today. He put my business under, sir.
Amanda says it's very hard to hire somebody in her area because most people there are drug addicts. She says Jason would tell her stories of him and his wife doing reckless things that made Amanda reevaluate her opinion of them. In addition, they borrowed so much money from her that her business went under.
It was an everyday thing. I have to go to the doctors. I need money before the doctor. What are you going to the doctors for? Suboxone. Every single day he would need an advance.
No, that is to address heroin addiction?
Yes, sir. That's an opioid addiction blocker.
Pardon?
She's on that too, as well.
No, I am not, sir.
Okay.
I am on a Sublocade shot that has
Same
nothing
thing.
to do with Suboxone.
Jason says what Amanda is saying about the advances is true. He did borrow all that money from her. However, he says he paid it all off in the form of work. He says he actually isn't very good at cleaning or maintenance, but he didn't do such a bad job that Amanda would still be paying for it.
He did give me advances, but we did work those off.
About these jobs that you couldn't even.
There were some jobs that she was.
Cleaning up. Who gets fired from cleaning up?
I can't clean very well, I will admit that. So, but I don't have the details, I guess. Is her, she's very good at her job. My wife's very good. I'm not so much.
Runs a good business?
Sure, absolutely. She's a good person.
Jason says after he quit, Amanda would continuously call him. When he wouldn't respond, she began calling his kids and wife all the time and wouldn't stop. He even had a written statement from his daughter to back up his claim. So, what is Judge Mathis going to rule in favor of?
She continuously contacted my children's phones over and over, texting
Have
them.
evidence of that?
I have wife's statement from my daughter and my wife.
I'm going to grant you $1,000 for the emotional distress of her going to your children, and $300 for the loan I'll grant you. All right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
my judgment. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Jeffrey and Shannon appear before Judge Mathis because of a debt. Shannon and his wife say Jeffrey was very boastful about the fact that his wife is much younger than him and is also a racist. Jeffrey says he's suing Shannon because he pretended to be richer than he was, which is why he let him use his credit card.
I first met him, the first words I ever said to him, I said, "Do you make pretty good money driving a truck?" What he told me was, "You see what I drive." So the character right then was, okay, he's trying to impress me. Well, come to find out it's a BMW. It was repoed twice. It's broke down. And so he doesn't exactly have what he
Projects to have,
projects
or
to
even
have.
says he has.
Yeah.
Jeffrey describes how he became friends with Shannon. The latter works as a driver, so Jeffrey asked him for advice on buying a tractor trailer. He says Shannon pretended to be richer than he was, even though his car would often break down and was even repossessed twice due to delinquent loans.
Him use a credit card while he lived with us, and like I said, he paid off the first part. He got a job, he got a hiring bonus, so he was Rockefeller fabulous. He had money. So what he paid the $1,000 or whatever, $53, and then he ran up some more. He kept not wanting to pay payments, even rent, whatever. There was everything.
Despite all of this, Jeffrey wanted to be a good friend to Shannon and loaned him his credit cards when he couldn't find work. In fact, there came a point when Shannon and his wife were about to be evicted, and he let them move into his home. Shannon repaid the credit card loan for the first time he used it.
I put him in his name to try to help him build his credit, and he did me this way. All he had to do is pay me $100 a month. We wouldn't be here today.
You make a good friend from all I hear.
I tried to be, Your Honor.
And that's in general, because stand-up guy that you are, where you don't always stand.
That was really good.
Shannon says Jeffrey seemed like a nice guy, but he was always boasting about how young his Filipino wife is because she's 30 years younger than him. He says Jeffrey offered them to move into his home, and he wasn't evicted from his own place. He says they also paid $550 in rent that Jeffrey isn't mentioning.
A couple of weeks, I guess, he moved in. He brought up something about he's got a special rule in his house that you must sit down to pee, even you're a guy.
Sir,
this
is
is
that
kind of
true?
characteristic.
Well, my wife is from the Philippines. Well, she found out about this, that it keeps the restroom cleaner. It keeps the commode cleaner when men
You
stand up to
sit down
urinate.
when you urinate?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
Jeffrey says he's only asking for what he is owed. He even agreed to take the money back in monthly installments, but Shannon refuses to agree. He says he trusted him after he made the first payment, so he let Shannon keep his credit card. But now he wants that money back. So, what is Judge Mathis going to say about this?
With regard to the card, even you admit that he owes something. You owe $2,200. All right, when you talk like that,
That was just
you
an argument, Your Honor, we were having about
Judgment for the plaintiff, $2,200. He agrees he owes that amount. He was offered the opportunity to counterclaim, but he didn't. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.